Greetings, my fellow freedom-loving sovereign thinkers. Thank you for tuning in to LL3 Podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful swampy mangroves of South Florida. And today's date is Friday, May 29th, 2020. Whew, wow. Notice ordeals are coming around. There was a report of a CNN reporter. They lost him with Jimenez, got arrested, his whole crew, and they let him go. Yeah, I was watching that video, and I gotta be very frank, I never laughed so hard in a long time. And I know everyone on Facebook was going up in arms, oh my God, how dare they? So, I just see it this way. They're desperately seeking ratings. It's like when the time when Anderson Cooper admitted he was gay, and Piers Morgan had to talk about gun control to get things going. Because he went off the air because his ratings were horrendous. Example of mainstream garbage media. They'll try to find a way to get people's attention with their official narrative. But it's always been like a farce from the very beginning. And of course there was arrest by Officer Chauvin for third-degree murder and manslaughter. Some people may not like it, but it's understand what the attorneys are doing. The state attorneys trying to be strategic. And of course, you always beware of the explicit manifestation. One thing you gotta look at for sure, my friends, is don't fall for the lizard boarding syndrome. Don't go, he's guilty, they all should be guilty. With the other officers. I know there are videos having Mr. Floyd, George Floyd, they had their knees on him as well. But one thing you gotta look at, take the steps. Yeah, be pissed off, but don't exploit it on your social media sites and say he's guilty, they're guilty, they're guilty. Because it'll be part of that mainstream garbage media. They want to hype this crap up. Look what happened if you study the Lizzie Borden case. They hyped it up. She was the murderer. They indicted her by a grand jury, and everyone thought she was guilty to the core. But the jurors found it differently and got acquitted. Remember a la O.J. Simpson? The Rodney King case, the first one? Many others. George Zimmerman, Trayvon Martin. That's what they do. They want to just say they are guilty to the core. And you're gonna rely on their sources instead of looking through the documents, the transcripts, etc. Something you always gotta be aware of. Be very observant. Yes, I'm disturbed, and I'm not the only one that said Mr. George Floyd was murdered. Listen to Mike Adams. He has expressed his how apparent and nefarious it was, and how Minneapolis finest that were involved made that possible. And of course, there's more stuff about provocateurs getting involved. One police officer smashing windows at an AutoZone. Yeah, I recommend folks should watch that movie Into the Fire by Dan Dix of Press for Truth. It's based on the video. The documentary was based on the incident that occurred in 2010, the G7 summit meeting in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. They use the same methods. It's everywhere, man. Don't be surprised that George Soros is involved. He helped engineered. People said he helped engineer the whole Charlottesville thing. What's his contributions, including the horrific events that happened in Rwanda with the Holocaust? That's according to Chris Ann Hall. And she's very good, so you should check out chrisannhall.com. A lot of stuff is occurring. Full insanity. Age of Coral. I know I said that yesterday. Sorry if I'm repeating myself. But the bottom line is this. You better beware of the whole propaganda matrix, the psyop rhetoric, when they're spraying on there. We got some nincompoops that are saying kill white people, or have a black or brown nation. We're a white nation. That's all mind control 101. Get you all wound up and do things stupidly. You don't want to fall into the operations like Jim Jones and Pol Pot from the killing fields of Cambodia. Very similar. All you gotta do is look it up. And of course, you got these synthetic movements, I call them. They're all jumping around. There's like some baton incidents that happened in Brooklyn, the Barclays Center, and there's like some people protesting in front of the White House, and even the incidents that were tearing up facing the CNN logo in Atlanta, Georgia. How many of them are organic? They may be troublemakers. They're probably on the Fed's payroll for all we know, or the globalist deep state, don't matter, on some tyrant's payroll. So the question is this, with this whole bellicose environment, what you're seeing or witnessing, whether it's on the street, in the streets of the towns, like from the Twin Cities, or on the idiot box, or watching on the internet, Keo Bono, who benefits? The order don't give a damn about any of us. They use us as little pawns and treat us like we are field peasants. Let us fight and kill amongst each other, and we can be ruled thereafter. Liberty has no color, race, or creed, etc. They don't want that. They want to suppress, have you guys symbolically shackled and chained, one way or the other, whether physical, spiritual, psychological. The technocratic platform. So, we're talking a few things about this matter. Talk about this whole George Floyd ordeal, the protests around the country, areas of the country where the hostilities happen. Can this relate to Operation Garden Plot, which occurred in the 60s, 1968, during the race riots and all that? So we'll just look up here. Boop. Do a little quick look here. Let's check this out. Based on the medical examiner's report on George Floyd, didn't die of asphyxia. Alright, came out today. And by Micah Soliner. This is what he has to say here. In the charges brought against Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin on Friday, a new finding shows the county medical examiner concluded the death of George Floyd was not a result of asphyxia. Hope I pronounced it right. Asphyxia, or strangulation. An autopsy of Floyd was conducted Tuesday, found his death on Monday after Chauvin restrained him for nearly 90 minutes by pressing his knee on Floyd's neck. Sounds like a IDF technique, because they do it on the children's heads, but there's always that same position. It doesn't matter. Full report by the Hennepin County Medical Examiner's Office is pending, but so far has found no physical findings that support the diagnosis of traumatic asphyxia or strangulation. Floyd's underlying health condition included coronary artery disease and hypertensive heart disease. So he had like a semi-compromised health. The report says underlying health conditions combined with Chauvin's restraint and any possible intoxicants in Floyd's system likely to contribute to his death. Floyd's death became a point of national interest and outrage, resulting in violent protests in Minneapolis and across the country. Some protests destroyed several buildings within the Twin Cities, on top of the looting big box stores and burning local businesses, which many of the looters are provocateurs, plants, and hired guns. I just add that. And there's even some of the folks in there who are black-owned small businesses are suffering from this as well, folks. So it has nothing to, this whole thing, everyone gets screwed. All right. On Thursday, protesters set aflame the 3rd Precinct Police Station in Minneapolis, where Chauvin and 3 other officers involved with the detainment of Floyd worked. Floyd's detainment resolved around an account of forgery when a local business owner thought he had handed him a counterfeit bill to pay for his purchase. See, it's a claim. Like I said yesterday, it was a claim. All right, and I said that in good faith. The violence has been condemned by local and state leaders, including Democratic President Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey. Trump has also spoken out against the looting, threatening to send in the National Guard to control the situation, with a controversial tweet later labeled with the warning from Twitter for glorifying violence. Yeah, but a lot of garbage you see on Twitter, they post out, they leave it on there because it's called exceptionalism. You talk to a guy who's not a Trump worshiper either, okay? So I will continue on here. Trump, like with his Democratic presidential challenger, Joe Biden, has both said they have spoken to with the family of Floyd. The family has spoken out against the charge brought against Chauvin, saying it does not go far enough, and they would like to see him charged with first-degree murder, and with additional charges given to the other 3 officers. Maybe second-degree at the most, but we'll just leave it at that. And I say that in respect to the families there. Chauvin was charged with third-degree murder and second-degree manslaughter on Friday. The 3 other officers involved were fired, but not yet charged with crimes. So the whole thing still continues. More stuff will probably still be pending, investigation, collecting information, and all that. He made that claim he was resisting arrest, but the video evidence that was presented contradicted those claims. So if it's been documented, you probably get him on false documentation. So maybe more stuff will be to be announced. But everyone out there, I know there's a lot of beautiful, peaceful people out there that are protesting, want to be smart. I always recommend have your cameras. There's some independent sites, even the ones I may have my disagreements with, at least they're out there. I'm trying to collect all the information the best I can, because I'm pro free speech and press 100%, as long as you don't violate others. And this is why the weekend there's a couple more rallies happening around the state of Florida and other places of the country. Be vigilant. If anyone instigates, stir up trouble, call them out, post it, and share it to everyone you know. Social media can be a great weapon. And interesting this thing as well, too, there was like multiple cases, past cases, between at least for a 10-year span, that folks were being harassed, mostly in the black community, were being harassed or been assaulted or been killed by Minneapolis police officers that represent the Minneapolis Police Department. It reminds me of what happened in Miami. 5 riots that broke out in the 1980s. And the one that really set the tone to get really bit aggressive was Arthur McDuffie. Arthur McDuffie's biggest mistake was he tried to evade the police. But he didn't deserve to die. He was an insurance agent. I remember this when I was living in the Kendall area of Dade County. He had an expired tag on his motorcycle. That's where he evaded, because it looks like he had a ticket the first time. But it cost him his life, which I condemn with the passion. And of course, it was such a high-profile case. Had to move to Tampa, and the district attorney at the time was the late Janet Reno, which I despise. But she was very dumbfounded as well, because the officers were testifying against each other, and the jury, all white, found him not guilty, and innocent people suffer for at least a good 3, 4, 5 days because of what happened. Many of the thugs out there, troublemakers, try to blame the white people for it, which is unacceptable. It mainly affected Wynwood, Overtown, Liberty City, Carroll City. Place got burnt to the ground. Businesses suffered from it. regardless if they're black, white, Hispanic, black, Hispanic, don't matter, is wrong. Good people have suffered from it, regardless. And you gotta always be leery of this. Now with technology, people have the opportunity to catch these parasites that are involved. They're the traitors. They're your enemy. When I hit these rallies, I had my distance with these folks, but you know what? We always have mutual respect. Some of these guys gave me a hard time when I did the whole anti-Trump rally or parade march down in Fort Lauderdale. Some of them tried to take a photo of me, and I blew them a kiss and all that. But later on, only thing I want to do is have them speak their mind, give them their side without me saying what my thoughts are. However, I give them a few recommendations too, nullification and all that. So that's one thing I always present facts. You should all do the same thing. There's some awesome people out there to have the courage, taking the risk to put these out. So always give homage to the citizen journalists out there. And wherever you do, keep it up. Hopefully I'll go out there and chat with you guys as well. Regardless of our differences, we get things in common. We defy all forms of tyranny, regardless, as a fact. And I know I'm digressing, so forgive me on this. But I had to let this all out. However, let's check on here. I want to talk about Operation Garden Plot. And this is from the Constitution Society. Operation Garden Plot and Rex 984. Operation Garden Plot is a general U.S. Army and National Guard plan to respond to major domestic civil disturbances within the United States. This plan was developed in response to the civil disorders of the 1960s and is now under the control of the U.S. Northern Command, or NORTHCOM. It provides federal military and law enforcement assistance to local governments during times of major disturbances. Can we say militarize the police? Federalization support. Giving them surplus equipment. Okay? Homeland Security? Yeah. So we'll just continue on here. Garden Plot was last activated as Noble Eagle to provide military assistance to civil authorities following September 11, 2001 attacks in the United States. The Pentagon also activated it to restore order during the 1982 Los Angeles riots. Under Homeland Security reconstructing, it has been suggested that similar models be followed. Oversight of these Homeland Security missions should be provided by the National Guard Bureau based on the long-standing Garden Plot model in which National Guard units are trained and equipped to support civil authorities in crowd control and civil disturbance missions. If you see what's happening with some of these rallies, protests, and people, they're using pepper spray, sometimes pellets, rubber bullets. Yes. Oh yeah. Some interesting. Here's from the testimony of Major General Richard C. Alexander Angus, retired Executive Director, National Guard Association of the United States Senate Appropriations Committee on Homeland Defense on April 11th, 2001. Rex 84, short for Readiness Exercise 1984, is a plan by the United States federal government to test their ability to detain large numbers of American citizens in case of civil unrest or national emergency. According to scholar Diana Reynolds, Rex 84 Alpha X Plan, Readiness Exercise 1984 Exercise Plan, otherwise known as the continuity of government plan, indicates that FEMA, in association with 34 other federal civil departments and agencies, along with other NATO nations, conducted a civil readiness exercise during April 5th through 13th, 1984. It was conducted in coordination and simultaneously with a Joint Chiefs exercise, Night Train 84, a worldwide military command post exercise including Continental U.S. Forces, or CONUS. based on multi-emergency scenarios operating both abroad and at home. In the combined exercise, Rex 84 Bravo, FEMA, and DoD led other federal agencies and departments, including the Central Intelligence Agency, the Secret Service, the Treasury, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, and the Veterans Administration, through a gaming exercise to test military assistance in civil defense. The exercise anticipated civil disturbance, major demonstrations, and strikes that would affect continuity of government and or resource mobilization to fight subversive activities. There was authorization for the military to implement government-ordered movements of civilian populations and state and regional levels, the arrest of certain unidentified segments of the population, and the imposition of martial law. Existence of a master military contingency plan, Garden Plot, and a similar earlier exercise, Lantern Spike, were originally revealed by journalist Ron Ridenour, who summarized his finding in Garden Plot and the New Army Action. The Rex 84 mentioned during the Iran-Contra hearings in 1987 and subsequently reported by the Miami Herald on July 5, 1987. Nonetheless, the basic facts about Rex 84 and other contingency planning readiness exercises and potential threat they pose to civil liberties if fully implemented in a real operation are taken seriously by scholars and civil libertarians. Exercises similar to Rex 84 happen regularly, planned for a roundup of large numbers of persons in the United States in times of crisis, are constructed during periods of increased political repression, such as Palmer raids and the McCarthy era. For an example, from 1967 to 1971, the FBI kept a list of over 100,000 persons to be rounded up as subversive, dubbed the ADIX list. This list contained many labor leaders, scholars, and public figures of the time. In 2008, for the first time, an active military unit has been given a dedicated assignment stateside for civil unrest containment. It is assigned to NORTHCOM, a joint command established in 2002 to provide command and control for federal homeland defense efforts and coordinate defense support of civil authorities. And there's a lot of information on here, folks. The links are here as well. And you can look at stuff on Operations Urban Warrior, National Security and Homeland Presidential Directive, COINTELPRO. A lot of good links here. And folks, I recommend you should check this out. This is amazing. And this is why what you see in here can be fully implemented. Garden Plot Rex 84. Why do I say that? Because they're not going to get this from the mainstream narrative. And that's a fact. And this is why you always got to look at these things as well. And here's another thing here I'm gonna show you. And there's a full description of Operation Garden Plot. This one came out from VictoriousLibertarians.com. And this came out a while back, August 4th, 2006. Pentagon leak: Operation Garden Plot has been reactivated. This is the latest leak from a Pentagon Anon as of August 4th, 2016. Mosul will fall soon, and plans are for ISIS to headquarter in Istanbul. That will give them easy access to Europe. Massive chaos expected in UK, Germany, France. Israel is behind ISIS, as is CIA and MI6. Interesting, right? So, say massive chaos expected in UK, Germany, France. Israel is behind ISIS, as is CIA and MI6. Can we say New World Order funded? If you hear my shows in the past, I do explain that to people. I'm not shooting my horns, I just refresh my memory in these things. I'm like, wow, all these years, yeah. But as it reads here, we have also been told that if it looks like Trump will be elected president, there are plans to crash the stock market and assassinate him, as they know he will prosecute fraud and treason. Interesting there, right? So they're trying to crash the stock market now with COVID-19 and bailout programs. Okay, the so-called bailout, so you give the big corporations the helicopter money and you give us the crumbs. Okay, don't fall for the free money propaganda, folks. It will bite you in the butt. Our Anon claims there is training going on as we speak. He refers to it as Patsy assassins. Trump has made a secret deal with Julian Assange to drop all charges if he will push to prosecute NBC, CNN, New York Times, and the Washington Times for collusion, treason, and RICO violations. Meanwhile, elements within the Pentagon, military, FBI, and DOJ are expecting full-scale revolution, and Operation Garden Plot has been reactivated. I know this is old, but it's very interesting. You know, a little bit of cloak and dagger extravaganza. I'm not the one who has ever promoted the idea of martial law taking place, as I believe we have been operating under martial law for years. However, after researching Operation Garden Plot, as our Anon requested, it appears it's about to get much worse. The official name of this project is called Operation Garden Plot. Under this plan for the deployment of Operation Garden Plot, the use of SITCON 1 will be mandatory. This direct support of civil disturbance control operations is to be used by the Army, U.S. Air Force, Navy, and Marine Corps, with an airlift force to be comprised of MAC or MAC organic airlift resources, airlift-capable aircraft, all other USAF major commands, and all other serial reconnaissance and airborne psychological operations. Could we say a possible project, they call it Project Bluebeam? Something to think about, right? This is to include control communication systems, aeromedical evacuation, helicopter and weather report systems, if civil disturbance by resistance groups, religious organizations, or other persons considered to be nonconformist takes place under Appendix 3 to Annex B of Plan 555-2, hereby gives all federal forces total power over the situation if local and state authorities cannot put down said dissenters. So it's anyone that's critical, okay, on government, including the George Floyd protesters, the real organic ones, okay? So, and that's what I'm trying to address to. They may call them dissenters, all right? But they use different terms. Annex A, Section B of Operation Garden Plot defines tax protesters, militia groups, religious cults, and general anti-government dissenters as disruptive elements. This calls for deadly force to be used against any extremist or dissident perpetrating and any and all forms of civil disorder. Under Section D, a presidential executive order will authorize and direct the Secretary of Defense to use armed forces of the United States to restore order. 2, that's 1, and this is right? Yeah, 2, really? Okay. 2, Tab A, Appendix 1 to Annex S, USAF Civil Disturbance Plan 55-2 Exhibit POR-SGH, GSC, GCS, Publication 6, Volume 5, AFR 160-5, hereby provides for America's military and the National Guard State Partnership Program to join with the United Nations personnel in said operations. It's interesting about that because if you look at HR 1111, they brought that to the attention about how the UN getting involved on civil unrest. Yeah, look up HR 1111. Of course, an Ilhan Ohan, what was that? What's that woman's name? Ilhan Omar. Ilhan Omar co-sponsored it, and so did Alcee Hastings. Let's give you a few. They're not more than globalist crap bags, okay? Yeah. Ilhan Omar and Michael Hastings, anyone that co-sponsored it, are globalist scumbags, okay? Including Maxine Waters, the Aunt Esther of Congress. Those are the facts. So you got to do is look up HR 1111. All right, so I'll continue on here. The link selected U.S. National Guard units with the Defense Ministry of Partnership for Peace. This was done in an effort to provide military support to civil authorities in response to civil emergencies under presidential discussion. Presidential Decision Directive number 25. This program serves to cement to relations between the citizens of the United States and the global military of the UN, establishments of the emerging democracies of Central and Eastern European countries. This puts all the National Guardsmen under the direct jurisdiction of the United Nations, and you can fully look at the whole thing on what's going on. There's a description on Operation Garden Plot. It's like 225 pages long. Please take your time reading it and all that. But one thing I could tell you, folks, it's a lot bigger than what it is. This is why everyone has a right to know the truth. Okay? And to all my brothers and sisters out there that are rallying for the peaceful resolution, they want justice. Keep on doing it precisely. All right, even Colin Kaepernick believes in the revolution, but who's going to benefit from that? Revolution of knowledge, freedom, and liberty. That's the way to do it. It's all been laid out in the Bill of Rights, my friends. Declaration of Independence. We have natural rights regardless where you're from, and who you are, and what you look like. Those are the areas I recommend. And the good thing about I have one of my colleagues I chat with who runs a bar has heard the same thing about American police forces going to Israel to be trained by the agents over there, IDF, and others. So, because the techniques are very similar. That's why you gotta say, although you gotta look at everything a lot broader than what it is. Whatever you do, don't participate in any bellicose natures or activities, burning down buildings and all that. Because you may get entrapped by an infiltrator, a provocateur, a plant, or a higher gun, or higher douche. Okay? And I say this all out of love and good faith. Justice for Floyd and all the folks that are victims of tyranny. We can all make a difference. And don't fall for the political hype about who's gonna make promises on a federal level. That's pretty absurd. You guys got to take the initiative on making things better. So keep it real, regardless of certain people's differences. If you stand for what's right, if you have something to comment on this cause, stand together. If not, we could be victorious as a team or lose as individuals. And I say that is it. I'd like to thank everyone for listening, plus feel free to download and share it throughout your social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, or something interesting you want to check out, whatever you do, please share your correspondences with decorum. I will leave the footnotes of this episode on my Spreaker page. Once again, thank you for your time, plus always remember that demoniac resistance. Ooh, sorry about that. Had a hiccup there. It's healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves, keep on spreading love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.